All right, so we are live. My name is Michelle Stiff, and I'm the Assistant Vice President of Financial Aid and Enrollment at Roosevelt University. Fun fact, I have been working in financial aid for, goodness, 27 years. So a very long time. I'm joined tonight by Michelle Hayes. Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Hayes. Sharon, I have been in the financial aid office since, oh my gosh, 1996. So I have quite a few years of financial aid experience. I am the Director of Financial Aid Services with Roosevelt University. We have never experienced what we've been experiencing this year as it relates to the FAFSA revamp and the delays that we've been getting from the department. So we appreciate your patience as we navigate these new waters together.
Thank you. All right, I should also mention that we've got Seth Lane with us. He is in the background, but he's here. And he is our Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions. So he's hanging out with us for a little bit tonight. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get started with the presentation. All right. Hopefully it's all working. Okay. All right. So you've met Michelle, who is our Director of Financial Aid Services, and she and her team are a fantastic group that really focus on providing support to our students, not just when it comes to financial aid, but also when it comes to understanding their student account, understanding their tuition bill. A lot of our students, financial aid is part of that process. But once they get to school, once they get to campus, learning how to read their student account that's on the portal, understanding what payment options are, and even being able to understand what all of the charges mean. Michelle and her team have the secret decoder rings to help you and your student make sense of all of that. So what I generally say is if you have a question that's related to financial aid, or money or anything in general, that start with Michelle and her team. And if they don't know the answer, although they probably will, but if they don't know the answer, they know the folks that do. So they're really good at handing off, making connections, just to make sure that you get the information that you need in the time that you need it. So looking at some other pieces of financial aid, these are some of the items we're going to talk through today. We're going to look at federal grants, which could be, federal grants, but also state grants and Roosevelt grants, and then also looking at our scholarship options. We're going to talk a little bit about work study, and then of course we'll talk about the federal loan programs and even some non-federal loan options as well. So how do you apply for all of these? Well, I'm sure you all know, and this probably is a pain point, but all of those funds are applied for using that free application for federal student aid. So at the end of the day, the goal is for you and your student to have what we call a student aid index, which really just is kind of measuring the overall financial strength of your family. And then that's also a number, a value that Michelle and her team will use to determine your eligibility for a lot of those programs I just mentioned. So we are going to get some audience participation. So if you can use your chat, tell us in there, enter a 1 if you have submitted your FAFSA, enter a 2 if you haven't yet, but you're going to, or enter a 3 if you're not going to submit your FAFSA. So let's take a peek. I see all the things. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of 1s. That's awesome. Lots and lots of 1s. This is good. This is good. This is good. So we're all in the thick of it together. So this is, again, most of you have already done this, but this is the website that you go to apply. I do want to highlight Roosevelt school code that's up in the upper corner there, the 001749. This is how we will automatically get your FAFSA information. So if you listed us, awesome. We've been getting FAFSAs. That's some good news. We've been getting FAFSAs. So it's very likely that we've got yours. If you haven't, didn't add us, the corrections, I've heard recently that the corrections are actually working now. So you and your student can go back in and add Roosevelt, and then we will get your FAFSA just as soon as that is processed. So here's my question for you. Do you know what this is? This is the light at the end of the tunnel, my friends. So, we have been in this for a very long time, waiting for updated FAFSA information, waiting for technology to work, waiting for so many updates from the Department of Ed. And so at this point, some good news. Roosevelt's receiving FAFSAs. We have received over 7,000 FAFSAs to date, which is fantastic. We are in the home stretch of getting all of our software ready to roll. In fact, we believe that if the planets align and everything goes as we expect, that we will be able to start pushing financial aid offers out next week. That is our plan. So that is our plan. So just to give you some additional information, we all know that the Department of Ed was very late in preparing some of the FAFSA information for you and your student. They were also late in getting some of this information to folks that needed to work on software and some other pieces related to the financial aid process that Michelle and her team use. So with all of those pieces kind of finally falling into place, Roosevelt has been working really, really hard. Michelle and her team have been working really, really hard to get everything up and running as quickly as we can. So again, I know Michelle thanked you all for your patience. We are just so grateful and thankful that that you came to this meeting tonight. But we know this has been a tough road for you, especially so many of you going through this for your first time. It was not a good first impression. But we also just appreciate that you're hanging in there. And if you have questions, you've got a great support network here at Roosevelt full of people that want to help. So with that, we'll just keep moving on. So the financial aid process, this is how it's supposed to work in a perfect world. You fill out that FAFSA, and then Roosevelt receives that information. Usually we receive it within about 72 hours, just to give you the real deal there. And then we take that financial aid information and we prepare a personalized financial plan or your financial aid offer. And so then once you've got that financial aid offer, sometimes we may need to get additional information from you to finalize some of those pieces. But that line of communication just continues to flow from us sending information to you, and then you're sending information back to us, and so on, until we can get all of this wrapped up before classes begin. Michelle, do you want to talk about some of the programs?
Absolutely. So the federal Pell Grant is based off of submitting your FAFSA application. It is funded by the Department of Education. It is based on your student aid index, and the maximum award for 24-25 is $7,395. So we kind of broke down how much your student could receive, and it depends on the student aid index. So we gave some examples down here, and we'll go over some more later on in the presentation. But if you have like a 2000 student aid index, then you're getting 5,395 in Pell for the academic year. And when I talk academic year, it's typically fall, spring. For 4,000 student aid index, you're getting, I think it's $3,335 in Pell. And then for the 10,000 student aid index, it is 0 in Pell. Okay. So determining whether or not your student qualifies, the eligibility is again determined based on the student aid index. So if your student's SAI is less than or 7,395 or less, you may qualify for the federal Pell Grant. So again, 7,395 minus your student aid index, that kind of equals your estimated Pell Grant that's just a quick and dirty formula that we were able to determine. So another example is 7,395 minus the 2,750 student aid index equals an estimated $4,645 in estimated Pell Grant. And this is again free money. 7,395 minus the 9,350 student aid index, you're not getting any Pell. Supplemental SEOG, it's a supplemental educational opportunity grant. You have to be Pell eligible in order to receive this. It is again funded by the Department of Education. The maximum award for the academic year is $1,000. And that's typically based on full-time attendance. Then we have the monetary award program or MAP grant, state of Illinois. It is a need-based grant. Parents need to be residing in Illinois if they're a dependent student, or if you're an independent student, then the student needs to be residing in Illinois, but they do have to submit validation of that. Typically, it's a year before they start school to show that they were an Illinois resident. You can apply by submitting the FAFSA or the alternative application, and that's through collegezone.org. Again, the maximum award is 7,200, and that is again based on full-time. MAP is a little different. It does pay based on the number of credit hours you're taking. So the award can be different depending on what the number of hours of credit that the student is taking. So for example, for this year, somebody that was taking 15 credit hours is getting $4,200 per semester in the state of Illinois MAP grant, whereas somebody that may be taking, I'm going to say 10 would be, or 6 credit hours would be 1,680. So there is a vast difference in the amounts that it's being paid. So if your student qualifies, again, it's based on the student aid index. We are estimating below 8,999 or less, you will qualify for the state of Illinois MAP grant. However, there is other requirements, and financial aid actually goes through that to determine whether or not the student is eligible based on the FAFSA data. Here is the big question that I keep getting chats popped up on my screen. So the academic, we're going to go over the Roosevelt scholarships, academic, opportunity, need-based, and performance award. So the academic scholarships are awarded by admissions. It is renewable based on the Roosevelt GPA, and the awards range from $1,000 to $6,000 annually. And again, that's for academic year, fall, and spring. The opportunity grant, that's for students who are unable to complete a FAFSA due to citizenship requirements. And again, that's determined by the admissions staff. Need-based grant, apply by submitting your FAFSA. The amount is determined annually by your student aid index. And that will vary from year to year based on the FAFSA results. And then your performance award. This is awarded by the Chicago Center of Performing Arts admissions team. It's based on an audition, and it is renewable based upon GPA and meeting the terms of the performance agreement. Federal direct loans. So typically loans are broken out for by year. So as your student moves through their freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you could see for subsidized loan, the awards increase, except for third and fourth year, they stay the same. And then the unsubsidized loan, that first number is based off of a student who's dependent. 2,000 is the maximum. But if they are independent, or we have a parent denial on file from a parent loan, then it can go up to 6,000. And again, this is for fall, spring only. You can see that the interest rate is 5.5%. Rates do change every year. Typically, we are notified in May. Subsidized loan, no interest accrues for the student while they're in school. The unsubsidized loan, the interest is accruing while in school, but no payment is due until 6 months after the student leaves school or is enrolled in less than half time. So some other loan options for dependent students, undergraduate, federal plus, parent plus loan. The parent is the borrower. The parent is the one that actually uses their FSA ID to apply for it. No, by no means should that be shared with your student. 8.05% interest rate. It is credit-based, and you are notified immediately if you are approved from the Department of Education. It is on the studentaid.gov website. But if you're unable to qualify, an additional loan may be offered to the student, but we do need the parent denial on file. And then the other option is private loans. The student or the parent can be the co-borrower. They have to be credit worthy. Interest rates and fees are based on the credit score. And we have actually two links on our website. If you look at private loans, you can check out the Credible, and it actually gives you different rates of interest, what the terms of the loans are. And it doesn't ding your credit at all. And then the other one is Elm Select. But that is on our website. Most of this information is available on our website, just so that you're aware of it too. So you can always, search our website at your heart's content to find out additional information about all things financial aid.
And just one other caveat about the private loans, if you know that you have really good credit, then you may qualify for a rate that is better than the federal rate. So just bear that in mind too. Like if you know you have good credit, because these are private loans that are kind of in the public market, so to speak, they can sometimes offer a better rate. But there are some tax benefits to the federal loans. So, we can certainly talk more details about that, but I did just want to share about that loan piece.
Yes, the CCPA scholarship is different from the Roosevelt merit scholarships that are based by admissions. CCPA is a performance-based program, so they are going to be doing auditions, and they will be determining what the scholarship amount is for that student based on the performance. Work study. So work study, we have two different options here. Federal work study, which is a need-based employment program. We typically offer work scheduled around the students' classes. Most offices are very flexible when it comes to the availability of having the students work for them. Approximately 12 to 15 hours a week is what the departments typically offer, and they can earn up to $5,500 annually. And again, that's fall spring. It is financial aid, so earnings are not included on the FAFSA. We do have to now report that directly to the department when we complete our yearly check and balance. That's typically due September 30th of each year. And then we have student employment, which is it's non-work study, so it's available to all students regardless of need. Again, work is scheduled around the students' classes, and approximately 12 to 15 hours a week max is what we can offer. For veterans benefits, military affiliated students may use benefits from the following programs. So we have post 9/11, Montgomery GI Bill, VRE, which is Voc Rehab and Employment, Dependents Educational Assistance, Montgomery GI Bill for Selective Reserve, Department of Defense Tuition Assistance, and then Yellow Ribbon. So we do have a fantastic VA coordinator on campus. His name is Kevin Smith. And if you want information, we can certainly share that with you at the end of the session. There is for CCPA, there is nothing to do to contact for aid. That is based again on audition information. So again, I think Michelle shared that you can reach out to the admissions counselor, but they should be scheduling audition dates within, I would say, in a month or two. Thank you.
I did get a private message about Chapter 35 VA benefits, and just to share, that is often made available for students whose parent is disabled through their military service. So if you are a veteran, you do have the opportunity in some cases to transfer benefits directly to your student. So I would encourage you to contact the VA. There's some, of course, paperwork that you would need to complete, but they can help you with the applications. Make sure you know what information to turn in. And of course, Michelle mentioned Kevin Smith, who is amazing. He's also happy to answer questions as well. All right, so I was trying to keep an eye on the chat while Michelle was speaking, but let's blow the chat up a little bit more. So have you visited our campus? So we're going to do a 1 if you have, a 2 if you haven't yet, but maybe you're coming to registration in May or June, or 3 if you want to know how to schedule a campus tour. We can certainly help with that. We also have a pretty cool virtual tour on our campus as well. So once again, I'm seeing a lot of 1s. So a lot of you have already been to campus. So you've seen the really amazing view from our residence hall that you're seeing right there in that graphic. I know there are moments when I wish I could live on campus, because that view is pretty spectacular, to say the very least. All right. So now we're going to look at, I have some award examples that we're just going to try to show as to give you an idea of what a financial aid offer might look like. I do have a sample like aid offer, so you can kind of see the layout of what your student will be receiving. So we're going to start with the examples. So in the background, big shock, you may have heard little dogs barking. I surround myself with tiny and sometimes irritating dogs. So we have each one of my dogs is going to college. So this is Mookie, and Mookie, her family has an income of $100,000. There's 5 people in her family. They live in Illinois, and she is going to live at home. So in looking at what Mookie's aid offer might look like, just to, again, give you some numbers to think about. So the tuition and fees is $21,300. And then we also, whoop, someone is drawing on my screen. And I don't know how to turn that off. But we have her federal Pell Grant. She's also getting an Illinois MAP grant, a Roosevelt grant for $1,900. She is qualifying for the Roosevelt Mission Scholarship. So in total, just looking at grant money, scholarship money, her remaining balance would be about $9,220. Michelle shared with you the federal loan program. So Miss Mookie is also eligible for a total of $5,500 in federal loans. And so if I factor those in, that brings her remaining balance down to $3,720. And this is for the whole year. So at Roosevelt, we offer 5 payment plans each semester. So 5 payments for fall, 5 payments for spring. So she would be looking at making a payment of about $372 a month. All right. So that is Miss Mookie. We're going to move on to the next. Oh, those lines are following me. All right. So this is Reese. This is my other little dog. Reese's family has an income of $75,000. I just decided Reese would be from Iowa. We were totally on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon here at my house. Don't know about all of you, but the family of 4, and so she's going to live on campus. So when looking at Reese's financial aid offer, we've got tuition and fees, plus we've got housing and meal. I will share with you that we have a lot of different meal and room choices. The housing application is open now. It actually opened on the 15th of April. If your student is planning to live on campus, please check that out. You can also go out to the website and see all the different price points that we have for housing and meals. So Miss Reese, she is eligible for a federal Pell Grant. She's also eligible for a Roosevelt grant. She qualified for the Dean's Scholar Award, which is a merit-based award, plus a $3,000 merit award as well. So in total, after all of the grants are removed, she would have a balance of about $18,170. Again, she is offered federal loans totaling of $5,500. That would bring her remaining balance down to $12,670, which again, if we divide that by 10, so 5 payments for fall and 5 payments for spring, we're at $1,267. All right, and this is my last little dog. This is Eddie Shedder. For those of you that appreciate a pun, my husband and I are big time Pearl Jam fans. So we have Mookie and Eddie Shedder as a tribute to our love of Pearl Jam. So Eddie, single parent family, parent makes $45,000. And so he and his parent live in Illinois. He is planning to live on campus. So just to give you some numbers for that. So there's his tuition and fees, his housing and meal plan choice. He qualifies for $7,395 in Pell, $1,000 in federal SEOG, plus the Illinois MAP grant, plus a Roosevelt grant, and plus a $2,000 merit grant. So taking all of that into account, he would have a remaining balance of $14,730. He is also offered a federal loans totaling $5,500. So that brings all of that down to $9,230. And then of course, the 10 payments, so 5 payments each semester, that'd be about $923 in a monthly payment for him. All right, so now I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share something that's online so you can see a sample of what your student will be getting here. So bear with me while I flip over to this. All right, so it says it's loading. Hopefully you all can see this. So this is a sample of what a Roosevelt financial aid offer looks like. So if your student has given us a cell phone number, we can text this to them. If we have an email address, we will email this to them. There is no signing in, password, username. They'll just click on a link and it will open. So we want to make it as easy as we can for you all to be able to see this. So it kind of has a couple of panels as we kind of describe it. So on the left side goes into the kind of nuts and bolts, but then the right-hand side in the green kind of gives you a high level. I do want to say that these are not real numbers. I just wanted to give something, a visual for you to see so that you would be ready for what your student is going to be getting. So we do have the tuition fees that we mentioned. I spoke earlier about how Eddie is going to be living on campus, so we did throw in an estimate for his meal plan. So if you look, it does group all of the scholarships and grants into one place. So if you want to see how much scholarship or grant your student is receiving, it's all in one spot. And if that's the only part you want to focus on, it says, cool, here's what that net cost would be if that's the only piece you're looking at. Then it also goes into the education loan. So again, the education loans are by themselves to try to make it as least confusing as we possibly can. And so then we take, again, if you want to do the loans, again, it's looking at that $15,535 minus this $5,500. That kind of gets you down to this number as well. There's also some additional pieces here, some quick links, if you will. So this will take your student to pay their deposit, which will allow them to register for classes and sign up for housing. This takes them out to our student portal where they can accept, decline, reduce any of the items that are on this aid offer. So if they know straight up they don't want any loans, they can click on this. It'll take them out to a website where they can decline the loans. If there are any items or documents that we need to get, this button is going to take you right out to where there's a list of what any of those might be. And then this activate your net ID, there is a little bit of a blurb about what that is. This is how they will have access to the Roosevelt email and some other important services here at Roosevelt. So activating their net ID is an important step. But again, all of these you just click and it takes you right where you need to go. And then again, because this is not an actual aid offer, we do have in the green space here that looks pretty blank. There are some videos that we will have available that will also provide some additional content on how to know what you're looking at and hopefully to answer any questions that you might have as you're kind of reviewing it. So this is kind of the skinny on what you're going to be getting, hopefully in the next week. All right, so we're going to stop share. We're going to go back to that PowerPoint here. Whoops. We're going to go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, there we go. All right. So I did want to highlight some other options. So we've talked about the Roosevelt payment plan. It does open in June. And again, any remaining balance, you can divide it into 5 installments. So if you wanted it, so it would be June, July, August, September, and October would be the payments for fall. And then you can sign up again for spring. Spring registration begins in November. That's when the payment plan would open for the spring. So then you'd have November, December, January, February, March for the spring installment. But again, we'll be emailing this to you and we'll be discussing it even more when you come to the new student registration or new student orientation sessions. And those will be happening in, well, pretty much all summer. We'll just say that way. May, June, July, and August. Also, just to share, we get asked a lot about where can I find more scholarships. There's a couple of resources that I always like to point out. One is the College Board. It's a free scholarship search. That's the main thing is make sure if you're searching for scholarships that it's free. You shouldn't have to pay money to get money is my good rule of thumb for all of you. There's also an app that's called Scholly. This young man was actually on Shark Tank, and of course, all of the sharks wanted in on a good piece of technology to help students find scholarships. And so the My Scholly app is free for students, so that's another good tool. And lastly, the community, your local community, your high school guidance counselor, Lions Club, Rotary, a lot of those organizations in your community may offer scholarships as well. So again, it's a good place to look for those as well. Some other options to think about, 529 college savings plans. I know some families have those, and we have a great lady here in our office. Her name is T. Marceline, and she will become your best friend. So she will help with all of the invoicing and billing for any of those 529 plans that some of you may have in place. If your student is using funds from an agency like Health and Human Services or anybody that we just need to bill on your behalf, T. Marceline is going to be your contact for that as well. I always like to point out just a little bit of caution when it comes to scholarships. There's a lot of folks that are looking to take advantage of students and families, especially this year, just because of all of the challenges with the FAFSA. There's a lot of folks that are really eager to quote unquote help you, but in reality, they are using your information or just simply taking your money with not the best of intentions. So if you have questions about emails that you may have received regarding scholarships, Michelle and her team can certainly help navigate some of those waters. But just know that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If you didn't apply for a scholarship, how did they know that you qualified for it? So some basic tenets there. There's a lot of really good consumer information on the Federal Trade Commission's website. I did put a link there. So if you just were to Google FTC scholarship scams, that will kind of put you in a good place for some solid advice and some good information. Another important piece is if something within your financial situation has changed, if you've had a change in employment or some medical bills, changes in marital status, all of those things can affect your student's FAFSA information. So if you're filling out the FAFSA and you're like, this does not reflect where we are as a family financially, this income doesn't match where we are, what we're doing right now, those are the times when you need to alert Michelle and her team. So they can go in with documentation that you would provide and essentially update your FAFSA to kind of better reflect where you are right now. So some of the items that she might need would be, pay stubs or tax information, W-2s, unemployment documents, medical bills, court materials. There's a variety of things, but just know that they want to help. And that's one of the reasons that we are in this line of work is we want to help families, we want to help students, and we want to help college to be affordable for you. So please don't hesitate. If something is different in your family, let us know, because we can't help if we don't know. And of course, everyone wants to have a personal appointment with our financial aid services team. That is going to be coming soon. They do offer appointments for her and her team to meet with you to review more on a one-on-one basis, looking at that financial aid offer, looking at your tuition fees, housing, all of those things. Some of this does take place during registration and orientation. They do walk you through some of those pieces together. But again, we do have, her team does have Zoom hours and other opportunities for you to meet and get your questions answered. We also have the Family Hub for Roosevelt families to stay connected both to Roosevelt, but then also to kind of form a community with each other. So if you haven't joined yet, you should have received an email, but I did include the roosevelt.campusesp.com link there. So please check it out. It does provide a lot of good information, schedule of events and important dates for you to have on your calendar. And then there's just good articles and different things that they post every week for you to take a look at. And so that is it. So we've got our email address there, our telephone number, but I did want to stop sharing just to see if you had any other questions.